have, there are dozens and dozens, hundreds, probably thousands of commentaries on the Haggadah. Many of them were not written as commentaries of the Haggadah. People just collected, Rav Moshe Feinstein said a lot of beautiful divrei Torah, so we'll collect them. I'm not taking the Rav Moshe, I'm sure that's wonderful also, but we'll just gather them together and put them all in the Haggadah, but they weren't actually written on the Haggadah. So each year, try to choose a Haggadah, someone that wrote a commentary on the Haggadah itself, and normally we try to choose a classic. This year we're not going to go with a classic, we're going to go with something much more modern, because of... well, you see why. I chose the Haggadah of Rav Belsky for this year. It's Haggadah Shel Pesach B'Tzeis Yisrael. Rav Chaim Yisrael Halevi Belsky, Zichrono Livracha, who just passed away. And since we're hearing so much about him since his Petira, I thought it would be an appropriate Le'iloi Nishmaso to learn some of his Torah. And this Haggadah came out during his lifetime. He didn't do the actual writing, but he saw the entire thing, and it was during his lifetime, and clearly was written as something on the Haggadah. The other thing that always happens every year is we start from the beginning and we get to like Manish Tana, and like we don't get too far into the Seder. So I think what we're going to do now is we're going to do part 2 first. We're going to start from the back and work our way backwards and see how far we get toward the middle of. We'll start from the end. He doesn't have anything on Nirtzah, so we'll go before Nirtzah. So let's start with. It might be helpful to have a Haggadah for certain parts of this, but I guess you don't. So, all right, we do our best. I'm going to start from Nishmas. In Nishmas, he pointed out that one time he was sitting. Belsky points out. I'm not going to keep saying that paragraph. That's what Belsky pointed out. He's pointing out everything that we said, but he said that he was sitting once by the table of Shlomo Zalman Auerbach. And Shlomo Zalman Auerbach pointed out that if you ever read Nishmas happens to be the most beautiful tefillah. It's really overwhelming when you describe the godless of HaKadosh Baruch Hu and what HaKadosh Baruch Hu does for the world, and everything that the Ribbon Shalom has done, and the Hoda'ah we have to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. There's only one line in Nishmas where we actually daven for something. Everything else is about talking about the godless of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Then we have Va'al Tichenu Hashem Elokeinu Lanetzach. And that's it. The rest is because of all these things we couldn't even come to a little bit of a something of a picture of what we owe you and what we have to have a crescendo for. It says with all the shvachim, there's only that one little line. Al Tichenu Hashem Elokeinu Lanetzach. And Rav Zalman points out that this is a kiyum of what the Gemara says in Brachos Daf Nun Daled Amud Aleph, that no sein hoda'ah al sha'avar v'tzoek al ha'asid, that a person is supposed to, at the same time that he's giving hoda'ah on the avar, it's not enough. It should never be that the hoda'ah alone is what's happening. At the same time that there's hoda'ah, it's not, oh, thank you, it was really nice to know you, you did such great things for me. It's thank you, and we're going to have an ongoing relationship. There should be some tefillah on the asid as well. The person has to be tzoik for the future as well. He says that's what we find by Leah Yimenu. Hapam Odas Hashem, that she says Hapam Odas Hashem with Yehuda, but she's not mispal al asid. She only gives hodah, and that's why Vathamod Miledes. That's why she stops having children at that point for at least for a little bit. So she's because she didn't take that next step of being mispal on the future. So that's why dafka, even in a tefillah where the entire tefillah is all about hodah al avar, there has to be something about the future. We have to have, and perhaps one could say, Rav Belsky doesn't just make this next step, that's really what the whole Seder night is. The whole thing is retrospective. We're talking about everything that Kadosh Baruch Hu did for us when we left Mitzrayim. But we have to finish with the L'shana Haba B'Yerushalayim. There has to be something future-oriented. Rav Soloveitchik was quoted as saying that he's in one of his famous drushes that the statement that they made a song out of, but it was really found in pretty early svarim of ha'avar adayin ha'avar ayin va'asira adayin va'hove keref ayin daga minayin. That why would you? I'm not going to sing it for you, but that the past is gone, the future is not here yet, and the present is like a fleeting moment. So why would I worry about anything? So that's not really what Judaism believes. We really believe that we relive the past and that's what makes the present matter so much. And it's because we have a goal for the future. That's why the past is so important. That's why the present is so important, because we have a goal for the future. It's not, the past is gone already. No, it's not. We sit on the floor in Tisha B'Av and we experience Cheres at the Seder because the past is still here. We relive it every year. And the reason we have to relive it is because we have a hope for the future. We have a Lashon Haba of Yerushalayim. We have to keep our eye on where we plan on going. It's not just a story that happened a long time ago. So that's what we see even within the Nishmas, within a Hoda'ah. We always have to make sure that there's a little bit of tefillah for the future as well. So moving backwards in the Hallel, again, there's just be random vartlach that are that from throughout the Seder, no connection between any of the vartlach. So if you find any part of it unsatisfying or boring or whatever, so you can still tune in 2 minutes later. Okay, so in the Hallel, Halu es Hashem kol goyim shabchu kol ha'amim. Very interesting phrase. We say it all the time. That Halu es Hashem kol goyim. All the goyim are going to praise Hashem. Shabchu kol ha'amim. All the kol ha'umim. All the nations are going to praise. Ki gavar aleinu chasdo. Why? What's going to be so praiseworthy? What are the goyim so interested in with the praise of Hashem? Ki gavar aleinu chasdo. Because Hashem was so good to us. Why would that make the Yom HaSol and praise HaKadosh Baruch Hu? Because Hashem was so good to us. So the Gemara in Pesachim Daf Kuf Yud Ches and Rashi over there said that the Goyim are Meshabeach HaKadosh Baruch Hu and the Gevuros and the Neflos that he does with Klal Yisrael, because the Goyim know more than anybody else that B'derech HaTeva they should have been able to destroy us. They should have been able to kill us. That there was enough to ever happen in human history. It's a greater miracle than Kriyas Yamsuf. That b'chol dar v'dar omdim aleinu lechalosenu, and not a single one has been successful with all the powerful people that have gone after us. And the goyim know that more than anyone. And maybe you could just add, he said that's a gavar aleinu chazdo, ve'emes Hashem l'olam haluka, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is gavar al goyim. He's mevatel all their gzeros in these unbelievably remarkable ways, and therefore ensures the survival of Klal Yisrael. But one might add that might be pshat b'chol dar v'dar omdim aleinu lechalosenu. Now it's almost b'chol dar v'dar, but is it mamish b'chol dar v'dar? Is it really in every single generation that the threat of total annihilation? What about during the times of Shlomo Melech? Was it a threat of total annihilation of Klal Yisrael? So maybe that's part of the idea over here. That b'chol dar v'dar omdim aleinu lechalosenu is that Halacha Esav son of Yaakov. That in every generation they wanted to, but HaKadosh Baruch Hu sometimes foils the plans before we even know that there was a plan. And who's going to know the true chesed of HaKadosh Baruch Hu? That really know ki gavar aleinu chasdo. It's kol goyim, kol umim, because they're the only ones that know. Time. We don't even realize how many times, lahavdil, it's like when the Israeli government, when the intelligence agencies get, they sniff out a terror plot before it happens, and everyone just goes about their day and they're walking in the street. They don't even realize that but for someone catching something at the last minute, some communication, they would have just been blown to pieces. But they don't even realize it because they don't realize the chesed of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. That HaKadosh Baruch Hu foils the plot before it even comes to our attention. That's what we have by Bilam Arash. It's the most remarkable Parshas Balak. It's about this amazing miracle Baruch Hu did for us. And you know what Klal Yisrael's role in that parsha was? In the entire parsha of this amazing miracle of the whole plan of Bilam Arash and of Balak being foiled. You know what our role was? Nothing. We did nothing. We had no idea it even existed. So the Haftarah says, look at HaKadosh Baruch Hu's tznius. Look how modest he is in the way he goes about doing his business. We don't even realize that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is helping us. So that's Halu es Hashem kol goyim shabchu kol ha'umim ki gavar aleinu chasdo. And the only ones that really know how gavar aleinu chasdo, how HaKadosh Baruch Hu's chesed is so overwhelming, are those who tried to make sure that it never happened, and those who tried to destroy us. Moving backwards, still in Hallel, Lolanu and Ahafti, he points out, are two different. They're two different paragraphs that really reflect two different ideas. Lolanu Hashem Lolanu ki l'shimcha tein kavod al chaschal amitecha. It speaks about the tsaros and the yeshuos of the tzibur of Klal Yisrael. Ahafti seems to be more about the yachid. Seems to be more about the salvation of the individual. And l'chora, Ahafti talks to us a little more than Lolanu does. Meaning, in general, people talk about, Rav Belsky says that he remembers right after the Holocaust. So people from the Sheres HaPleitov, people who came from the infernos in Europe, came to America and they were darshan in the yeshivas and in the shuls. And he said he remembers Rav Ephraim Ashri getting up to darshan. And you know who Rav Ephraim Ashri was? Rav Ephraim Ashri wrote the Sefer Shalos Tshuvos Mimamakim. It was the book of the Shalos Tshuvos from the Covenant Ghetto and from all the shilas that he got in the Holocaust. And he became a heroic figure in terms of his the chizuk that he gave people during the Holocaust, and his work in perpetuating the memory of the Holocaust through Torah, through Halacha, which is an amazing thing, actually through Halacha, through Shalos Tshuvos Svarim. He said, he remembers when Ephraim Ashri was trying to describe what the number 6 million is. He was trying to talk about the masses of people that were lost, and people were crying, and it was very, very sad and emotional to hear it. But then he says he remembers the Kloisenberger Rebbe coming, and the Kloisenberger Rebbe gave a drasha, but instead of talking about 6 million, he spoke about this Yid, who went through this Nisayon, who went through this challenge, this Inyan, this issue, and he described a person. He described a human being, what he went through during that time, and people cried much more bitterly. Now, what's sadder? A single person going through a hard time, or 6 million people? Now, objectively, of course, 6 million people is sadder, but we connect to the Yachid in a profound way. Stories of Yachidim are stories that they touch a chord in us. And that's why in Tisha B'Av, when we sit on the floor and we say the keynotes, there's so many of them that are about Yechidim. There are many that are about the Beis HaMikdash. And you know the ones that we remember? The ones that are about the Yechidim, that are about a son and a daughter of a Kohen Gadol who are up all night in a jail crying over, and the ones that are about Gedalia ben Achiu, the ones that are about individuals, those are the ones, Sarah Ruge Malchus, about individual people, those are the ones that somehow we remember. The rest of them, it's another one about the Chorban. It's another one about, we lose sight of it. So we need a paragraph of a hafti to remind us of just how grateful we are, of the great rags to riches story of Klal Yisrael, the spiritual rags to riches of Klal Yisrael. But at the same time, we have to remember that what it's really about is Lolanu, is our connection to the Tzibur. That we have to remember that we're part of a Klal Yisrael over here, and that's what makes the whole night special, is that we're part of a Klal Yisrael. I always find it amusing, but more sad than amusing, that the one time a year that people think that it's really important to have a guy at their table, to have a non-Jew, to invite a non-Jew to their table, is the Seder. That's the one time a year that you really shouldn't have a non-Jew at your table. We're celebrating what it means to be a Jew, what it means to be part of Klal Yisrael, what it means to live with Jewish destiny. That's the one time a year that maybe we could do without it, where we could keep it within the clan. That's what we're celebrating, being part of Klal Yisrael. Hallel comes all the way at the end of Magid. Really, at the end of we have Magid and we have Baruch, and we say Hallel. Rav Belsky just points out that the Navi Yeshaya in Parak Lamed Pasuk Tes writes, "Hashir yeh lechem kilel iskadesh chak." It's amazing. The Navi describes. This is the second half of Hallel, and we're working backwards, so we'll go with the second half of Hallel first, which actually comes by Hallel. The Navi describes that the Shira La'asulava is going to be so great. The Geula and the song we're going to sing about the Geula, it's going to be so great. You know what it's going to be like? It's going to be like Hallel at the Seder. It's going to be like Hallel on the night of Pesach. Kilel is Kaddish Chag. Hashir yeh lechem, belal Pesach tova lechem simcha zu kalel es kaddish chag k'mo shamartem shir shel Pesachim b'Mitzrayim, like we had in Mitzrayim. That we're going to sing the shir b'geula shlema, like we were mishorer in the Lel Pesach. And how does the Gemara describe Hallel in Lel Pesach? Gemara Pesachim daf Pei Amud Beis describes v'halila paka igra. Rashi says, what does it mean? Paka igra lekol ha'amon me'halel domen kilu ha'gagin mispakim. You felt like the roof was caving in. That from the sounds of the Hallel, Sheyu Omra Hallel al Pesach, and it's important to realize that the Hallel is supposed to be, it's the crescendo. It's like, very often it's so late and you're like, everyone's tired already. You have so many cups of wine in you already. You just need to go to sleep. We shouldn't lose the opportunity for the Hallel. if we're going to use as a mashal for what it's going to be like, it was the Hallel and the Seder, so we got to make the nimshal more similar to the mashal. Right? We have to make sure that the nimshal works, that the Hallel be a beautiful Hallel. Working backwards over here, he doesn't have anything to say on benching. I'm sure he had what to say, but nothing in the Haggadah. So, going back to the first half of Hallel, it's a little bit strange that we divide Hallel. So we write the Haggadah says Lefichach anachnu chayavim lahodos. We have to be we have to lahodos lahalel shabech levar leramim lahadel natzech levarich lalel kales mishras lavasein v'lanos kol nismeilu. We just described all these nisim, so we have to say a Hallel. So it's just a pashut pshat in the Haggadah. What we're saying is that we know that later on in the Seder we get to Hallel. So what's it doing over here? Well, we're explaining what the first half is doing over here. We can't get through the story we just told and not spontaneously break out into a Hallel. How could you tell a story like that? Talk about all the things that HaKadosh Baruch Hu just did, and not be lahodos Hallel shabech levar leroy. We just can't hold it in. Eich lo niftach b'shiros v'tishbachos lahodos Hallel Hashem Yisbarach. So that's why we pick up the kos and we say a little bit of Hallel, because how could you not? But we don't say the whole Hallel because the dalikosos that are al Seder the night. But everyone is supposed to feel. That's how emotional the experience is supposed to be. It's supposed to be this spontaneity where you just want to scream out a Hallel to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and that's the pshat lefichach, because of everything we just said, the matzah, Pesach, matzah, maror, and the whole story, that the backstory to the Pesach, matzah, maror, everything is based on. Therefore, we need to scream out, we need to call out in Hallel to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Moving backwards to Pesach Matzah Maror, we'll go to Maror first because it's the last one. So Maror Zoshanu Ochlim. The Haggadah says Al Shum Shamara Mitzvah Mitzchayi Avasein Mitzrayim. Our lives were very bitter in Mitzrayim. Pasuk Vaymaru Eschayim Ba'avoda Kasha B'chomer Leveinu B'chol Avoda B'Sada. The idea of the Maror is, one might think, well, it's such a downer. Why bring that up? We're supposed to be celebrating. It's supposed to be a happy night. Why would we be talking about how bitter our life was? And the idea of the entire Seder, one of the fundamental notions that most of the classic commentaries in the Haggadah point out, one of the fundamental ideas of the entire Seder is to have a sense of hakaras hatov to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, to have a sense of hoda'ah to HaKadosh Baruch Hu for what He did for us. It's a matter of bitachon, of realizing that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is in our lives, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is real. It's not just something that you just say Me'ah Brachos B'chol Yom, it just happens to fly by your mouth. It's supposed to be Hashem is real, Hashem is actually part of our lives, and we therefore have to recognize where we would be without Him. Where we would be not without Him, nothing would be here without Him. Where we would have been without His significant help, without all of the nisim that He did for us. And it's impossible to come to that recognition without a proper sense of what the Merirus was. Unless we first recognize how bad things were, we can't possibly recognize how much hakaras hatov we have to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. He says here from Rav Yonason Shteif that Avraham Avinu reached the madrega that he reached only b'zchus that he was makir anochi offer ve'efer. What does it mean, Anochi Offer Ve'efer? Rashi writes, Offer al Yidei HaMelachim Ve'efer al Yidei Nimrod. Offer Ve'efer is not just a statement of Anivus. It's a statement of, I would have been finished. I would be dead. I would be over before I ever began. Offer al Yidei the Melachim Ve'efer al Yidei Nimrod. I would have been totally wiped out, but HaKadosh Baruch Hu saved me. Only when one recognizes where we would be without the Nisim could one come to a true Hakaras Hatov. So the Merirus is critical. I was listening to a shir yesterday. We were on a DRS trip, so I was driving, because I prefer to drive than to on a bus. So I was driving, and I was listening to a shir from Rabbi Penner, and he was saying that in his house he doesn't let he doesn't let them sing, work every day, and it wasn't a song. It was a Holocaust. It wasn't something to sing about. It's not just just back and forth. No, it was a Holocaust. It was killing babies. It was a horrible experience, and we have to appreciate that. When Rabbi Chait published the picture I got for children, there were people that were very upset with him. his son-in-law told me, people were complaining that the Haggadah was so graphic. It had like pictures of like blood and gore and like all these horrible graphic pictures of what was happening. And his answer was, yes, that's the point. It was so graphic, it was so terrible. What HaKadosh Baruch Hu did for us. It's not just a good time was had by all. It was the adversity that we went through. It was the suffering that we went through, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu saved us from that. That's the Hakaras HaTov that we're supposed to have. That's the emphasis on the Morah right before we get into the Hallel. Because it's only when we have a recognition of the Morah that the Hallel makes sense. Working backwards, Matzah zu sha'anu ochlim al shumma. So the Haggadah tells us, why? What's the matzah all about? Oh, it happened so fast. That we didn't, the bread didn't, lo yochlu l'smamea, gam seder l'aslam, there was no time to waste, the dough didn't have a chance to rise, it happened so fast. Pasuk says, Shuvas yom tochal alav matzos lechamoni, ki b'chipazon yatzas mitzrayim, because it was b'chipazon, we were so fast. Rashi, v'lo hispik b'tzekech lach mitzar, our dough didn't have a chance to rise. Why does the speed matter so much? Would we have known the difference if we would have taken an extra, half hour? If we had 48-minute matzahs instead of 18-minute matzahs? Like, would we have really known that? Can you taste the difference even between the kosher Pesach matzahs and the non-kosher Pesach matzahs? Like, I mean, what difference would it have made? In the end of the day, we were slaves for centuries, for 210 years. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu took us out and we experienced miracles. You know what? Maybe we should have enjoyed it a little bit more. We've gone out slowly with a little strut, as the mitzvah are watching us. Maybe that would have been nice. What's the emphasis on the speed? Why is the speed so important? So the idea is, no matter what miracles HaKadosh Baruch Hu makes, there's always someone that's trying to explain al derech hateva how it happened. That it wasn't really a miracle. Oh, if the atmospheric conditions are such, at just the right time, where the wind is blowing one way and there's a high tide and whatever, so Kriyas Yam Suf could technically happen. Okay, maybe not with all the midrashim, with the fruit trees and the candies in the middle, but for everything else, it could have happened. It could have happened. There's always an explanation. There's always a reason why. What you think was a miracle, maybe it wasn't really a miracle. There's just one thing that's purely the work of science fiction. And that is the space-time continuum. That people, time travel is still something that's only science fiction. You want to make a futuristic movie or a television show, time travel. That's the way to go. People are so intrigued because there's no explanation. There's no way we can make it work. The flux capacitor doesn't, I don't even know if you get the reference, but it doesn't work. Time travel is not... Is that the right word? Yeah? Okay. Time travel is not the... I have to pretend I don't know. Time travel is something that's so beyond our hasagos. It's beyond our imaginations. So he says, take a look at what happened. In a moment. You ever go on a family trip and you pack the minivan? I don't know, if you're going for like a week. How long does it take to pack up the van? To make sure everyone goes to the bathroom and to get everyone has to fight over their seats, and you have to pack up the van, make sure, did we bring this, did we bring that, what did we forget? 18 minutes, it doesn't even begin to plan the maybe of may. You don't get anywhere in 18 minutes. Pasuk says, Vayisu b'nei Yisrael meramse sukosa, says Rashi, Meya ve'esrim mil hayu, uba'u sham lefi sha'a. It was 120 meal. A meal, 18 minutes to walk. 120 meal. And they got there lefi sha'a. What's this lefi sha'a? At the time that they left, Vayisa ha'am es b'tzeko terem yachmatz. Before they had the dough. And then later, when they got there, then they finally were able to bake the dough, ugos matzos. So think about it just doesn't work. The cheshbon is unbelievable. Not just that the leaving Mitzrayim was less than 18 minutes. Otherwise the dough would have risen. But it happened mamish karavayin. Because they had to gather all the stuff together, they had to pile up the donkeys. They had to do all of that. pasuk Gemara Bechoros Hey and Beis. Eincha kalachad v'Yisrael v'Achon v'Yisrael shlo hayu imotishim chamorim luvim tu'unim mikisva zav v'shel Mitzrayim mikasva zav v'shel Mitzrayim. Every Jew had 90 donkeys loaded, laden with the gold and silver of Mitzrayim. And all of that loading up happened within these 18 minutes. It's a pliya atzuma. It's l'mayla miseichel enoshi. It's beyond human capacity to understand how that could happen. And it's not just, the larger the family, the harder it is to travel. We're talking 600,000 people, 3 million, 600,000 men. So that is the emphasis on the Zman. That's the emphasis on the Chipazon. Because it's the one thing that no matter how you try to explain things, you can't explain it. It's the one thing that there's no way to naturally explain why that could happen. So that's what we emphasize. That this was the Yad Hashem, it was direct Yad Hashem, it was pure Yad Hashem. Pesach, in the Pesach Matzah Maror, we're working backwards again, Maror Matzah Pesach. Pesach, Shayu Avosenu Achum B'Zman Shebeis HaMikdash Hayakayim Al Shema. Why the Pesach? Because Pesach HaKadosh Baruch Hu Al Batei Avosenu B'Mitzrayim. Of course, HaKadosh Baruch Hu passed over our houses in Mitzrayim. There are two types of hashkacha that HaKadosh Baruch Hu has in this world. There's hashkacha klalis and hashkacha pratis. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is generally seeing that things work, and then specifically about each individual, involvement in our individual lives. Pesach celebrates an incredible level of hashkacha pratis. It's not just that, a plague hit, hashkacha, that it hit the mitzvah. It's that each house, one by one, decided, okay, is the mashchis going to come into this house or not? It's an incredible level of hashkacha pratis. The difficulty, though, is the pasuk that we're quoting is really the pasuk that the Torah reserves as the answer to the Ben Harasha. So the pasuk that's all about this incredible hashkacha pratis is within the answer to the Ben Harasha. We explain Korban Pesach to the Ben Harasha. We should be explaining Korban Pesach to the Chacham. He's the one that asked about it. Ben Harasha wasn't so interested. So this is maybe what the Haggadah what the Baal Haggadah is trying to tell us is how we get a Ben Harasha to be interested. What the turnoff is for the Ben Harasha. The Ben Harasha feels that he doesn't have a relationship. He feels that he doesn't have a simcha in his Yiddishkeit. That's Torah mitzvahs. It's a bunch of chores. It's a bunch of someone was describing to me this week how he remembers growing up. He remembers his father was a big Yirei Shemayim. He remembers his father with a toothbrush in the corners of the house, cleaning out any potential mashu chametz, emptying out every pocket, and if he found chametz in one pocket in one studio, and he said it was such a turn off for him. Everything was about pachad and intense, and there has to be a level of simcha also. There has to be a level of feeling connectedness. It happens to be this guy's father's a very, very big tzaddik, and he does feel a connectedness. The kid didn't see it. The way to express to the Ben Harasha that Yiddishkeit is for him is to emphasize hashkacha pratis. To emphasize that when one serves HaKadosh Baruch Hu, you have a relationship, a personal relationship with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Each and every Jew had a special relationship with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Hashem was Pesach al Batei Avosenu, one by one. It's not just this broad thing, serve me and I will be your king. Imagine you have an actual relationship with the king. That's why it's hidden in the response to the Ben Harasha. Moving backwards. B'Mitzrayim Mahu Omer, Vayomra Achartum Melparu Etzbe Elokimhi, Valayam Mahu Omer, Vayar Yisrael Sayyad Agadola. The Haggadah points out that by Mitzrayim, when it goes through the number of makos, right? This is the paragraph. Rabbi Yosef Glili Omer Minayin At Homer Shaloko Mitzrayim Eser makos, Valayam Loku Chamisha makos. That in Mitzrayim it was 10 makos, Valayam it was 50 makos. Because in Mitzrayim it says Etzbe Elokimhi. Aliyam it says that it was Yad HaGedola, the whole hand, not just the Etzba. So an idea that Rav Belsky really develops earlier in the Haggadah. So what's the difference between an Etzba and a Yad? I know, there's a finger and it's a whole hand. What does one do with an etzba? Each finger has a different name. So the pointer is called the etzba. So what does one do with his etzba? You point with the etzba. You either point or you warn with the etzba, right? You point with the etzba. It's a sign to show. What does one do with a yad, his entire hand, to an enemy? You whack him. Right? The yad hits. The yad strikes. The etzba points. So he says, so beautiful. The Eser Makos Mitzrayim were Eser Etzba'os. It was pointing to Hashkachas Hashem. It was pointing to the existence of the Ribbon Shalom. That was the Etzba Elokim. L'man Teda K'yein K'Hashem Elokeinu, Pasuk says. So Kodesh Baruch Hu, that's why there was time between each Makkah. If you want to, you ever watch a boxing match? Not that I'm saying you should. But if you ever watch a boxing match, so the rules are you're not allowed to there are only certain things you're allowed to do. You're not allowed to kick. You're not allowed to bite off someone's ear. You just have to punch. So what are you supposed to do when you punch? So ideally, when you really knock the guy out, it's punch after punch after punch. You don't punch and give him time to recuperate. That's only for the movies where the guy gets to be woozy on like that and whatever. You don't give him time to do that. If he's doing that, you go in again. If you really want to bring someone down, you don't give him time in between. You go, down, Sardea, Keenan, boom, 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 one after the other. Go for the knockout. That's not what Kodesh Baruch Hu was doing. He wasn't trying to go for the knockout punch. He was trying to show, look, there's a Ribbon Shalom. Now contemplate what just happened. A punch, think about that for a moment. Then another punch, think about that for a moment. Because it was an etzba, it wasn't a strike. As opposed to the Makos Aliyah, where the idea was to finish the job, to wipe them out. So there was no need for time of hisponinus between each makkah. So it was dafka bibasach. The 50 makkos happened bibasachas. Because that was the Yad Elokim, the Yad Hashem, as opposed to the Etzba Elokim. Now, moving back to the Tzachadash B'Achav, just a ha'ara, he points out that Rabbi Yehuda gives simanim all over Shas. So when the Haggadah says Rabbi Yehuda Yenosin Bem Simanim, it doesn't say Rabbi Yehuda Nasan Simanim Lamakos, because he was Haya Nosin Bem Simanim. He would give simanim to everything. That way he says, if you look in Menachos Tzadi Vav Amnalev, I'm sure you must have other Marmakomos as well. Rabbi Yehuda used to like to give simanim to things. Okay, so Haya Nosin Bem Simanim. But what's the breakdown to Tzachadash B'Achav? Why dafka those three groups? Meaning, what's the godless? Oh, the Tzachadash B'Achav. He came up with the idea of an acronym of the first letters, like everyone comes up with acronyms for everything. So, why is Tzachadash B'Achav special? But every gadol is known by an acronym. Rashi, he's called Rashi. Rambam. They're all acronyms. Everything's an acronym. So, he says you have to understand what the Makos were all about, what the purpose of the Makos. V'yedu Mitzrayim ki ani Hashem, bezos teida ki ani Hashem, like we were just pointing out. And it's about pointing ki ani Hashem. He says, why does it start down Sardea, the first of the Makos? The Medrash writes, Lama lakwa mayim tchila b'dam. Why is the dam was the first thing? The mayim was struck with dam. Mipnei shaparu v'amitzrim ovdim le'yor. The Medrash says, Shmos Rabbah, test, that Paro and the Mitzrim would worship the water. So Kodesh Baruch Hu said, I'll hit their God first. So Rav Belsky points out, if you think about it, when one tries to wage a war with someone else's belief, with someone else's God, with someone else's Avodah Zarah, the more successful you are, very often, the more counterproductive it becomes. Because if you feel your God is under attack, what do? You fight back, and you get more agitated, and you dig your heels in further, and you want to fight more. It brings out, it awakens a sleeping giant within the person. The person was never a Balamuna beforehand, really. They were only half-hearted about their religion. Oh, but once you attack their religion, well, then now they're real believers. So you can't be. That's why the halacha is, You can't be mevatel in avodah zarah easily. A Jew can't be mevatel in avodah zarah. A guy has to be mevatel his own avodah zarah. Because the more we try to be mevatel their avodah zarah, the more they'll dig their heels in and say that how much they believe in their avodah zarah. So the only thing that works, one mahalik that works l'chadchila, is the koach of leitzanus. To be mislotzitz on the avodah zarah, to show how silly it is. Not to fight against it. Fighting against it is respecting it. So like, it's primitive, it's ridiculous. Just make a leitzanas out of the whole thing. And so the Gemara says, Kol leitzanusa asira, all leitzanas is asir, except for chutz mi leitzanusa davod chavim desharya. So leitzanas is mevatel. So Rachel Imenu, what does she do with the trafim? She's sitting on them. It's a joke. It's a nothing. Not that, not destroying them. Just it's a seat. It's something I could sit on. No respect. That ultimately brings down the level of the avodah zarah. You make a leitzanas out of anything, people tend to disrespect the thing you just made a leitzanas out of. How many good Muslims were destroyed by one poorly timed joke? Someone is giving something powerful, and you hear about an Indian. Someone is trying to explain the Indian of Zman, of using your time properly. Jonathan Sachs was at my house this past Friday night. He was talking about how his great-grandfather, C. Pesach Frank, used to have a stender by the door of his house. Why? Because his house was a whole 2 rooms. So you'd have to take 10 seconds to walk from the back room of the house to the front room of the house. So the back room is where he would learn. But who's going to excuse his bittul Torah for those 10 seconds? So he had to bring a sefer with him and learn until he got to the door, and then put down the sefer at the door. He'd have a stender waiting at the door. So imagine, right at that time, someone makes a leitzanos about, I hope he didn't bump into anything. And that's it. The whole shmuz is gone. And the whole Indian, the whole message is gone. A leitzanos of anything just brings down the whole madrega. So the HaKadosh Baruch Hu brings these 2 makkos first to show just the powerlessness. Not to fight the avodah zarah, just to show how powerless it is. And it's dafka these 2 makkos that the Chartumim were able to do also. If it was about a fight, my God against your God, why would the Chartumim be able to? No, these 2 makkos the Chartumim could do also. You could overpower your avodah zarah. You're stronger than your own God. See what a joke it is? And then he brings kinim. And kinim is because every nation has a certain chavivus to their land. You just love their land. I always give the mashal like a child goes back to their childhood home. It could be the most decrepit, broken down home in a changing neighborhood or whatever. You go back, when you get married, God willing, you'll see every time you go to your in-laws' house, like your wife will be skipping up the lawn and it's like the happiest place on earth, it's the greatest place or whatever. Your in-laws don't like the house anymore, they want to move, everyone, but it's like, they're just, people have an attachment to their place. It's natural. So kinim is an attack on the Eretz itself. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is mevazeh the Eretz. That's so precious, so beloved to them. It's only once they appreciate the leitzanos of their own attachments, of the things that they're attached to, are they ready to appreciate that there's a manig labira, that there's someone running the world, that there's an etzpe elokim. And therefore HaKadosh Baruch Hu starts demonstrating that with makos pegufa, makas arov, where the behemos, makas dever, and once all their behemos are gone, starts directly on their guf mamish, not just their money, the shchin, and then comes makas barad and arbe, which attacks their food supply and leaves them void of anything, and makas choshech, where they lose all their senses. They can't even see, they can't even move. Lo roishes achiv echav lo kamuish mitachtav, couldn't even move, they couldn't get up. And they realize that even their senses come from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Makas Pechoros, which is the Makkah Bepatish of the Churban, where they take the very lives away. So Belsky says, this is what Rabbi Yehuda was referring to with these simanim. Tzach is the first 3 Makkos, has one purpose. It's a hechsher and hachana for the mitzvah to be able to recognize that there's a Borei Olam. by being mevatel that which they did recognize, that which they were connected with, that which they did feel had a certain power. And then a makeh shel mamish on their behemos and on their guf, to show that HaKadosh Baruch Hu controls everything. By makeh sorovitz laman teida ki ani Hashem b'keref haaretz, and that's adash. So that's like one big makeh. And then ba'achav is their ability to sustain themselves and to function and to move. And that's bi'achav. That their food is gone. They can't even sustain themselves. Choshech, they're in darkness. Choshech in general means that a person is lost. It's used as a mashal of being completely lost. And obviously, Bechoros is part of that, the utter destruction. So Rabbi Yehuda saw that it came in three groups. That it had to lay the groundwork, HaKadosh Baruch Hu punishing, showing, not just punishing, not the yad, the etzbah, showing that He controls everything around you, and then showing that He even controls you. He even controls what goes in your body, your sustenance, your own ability to see, your own ability to move. HaKadosh Baruch Hu controls all of that. Okay, we'll stop here, and in my shul I'm going to give the first half of the Haggadah, I think, on Tuesday night, so hopefully there will be a part one. That was Rav Belsky part 2. Okay, good Shabbos, everybody.